Vampires had suffered a great deal during the reign of the Black Death. The Black Death surged in the 1300s all the way until the 1700s. They were drinking contaminated blood. But there was some new blood dawning. Sophia knew. The others smelled it too. It gave them energy to rise again and come forth into a new era.
It is the 4th of June, 1738. A strange and portentous storm is raging in London. At the stroke of midnight, a frail, sickly child is born to Frederick, Prince of Wales, and Augusta of Saxe-Gotha. The parents name him George after his grandfather, King George II, but he is 2 months premature, and few think he will survive the night.
Sophia? Is that you? The storm is so strange.
How dare you enter this house? My father, the king, detests you and has banished you from this place. You are not welcome here or anywhere in England. Silence, Frederick. Your son, the future king of England, has been born this night and is in great peril. As we speak, the strength drains from his body. His flesh grows cold. Thomas, your precious Bishop of Oxford, has said it himself. He cannot help you. I, and I alone, Sophia, Queen Consort of Prussia, have the power to save your son. Will you accept my aid?
Do not listen to her, your highness, for hers is a dark magic.
The time is growing short, Frederick. Your son grows ever weaker. By the dawn he will be gone.
Frederick, please, we must save our son. Beware of this business, Frederick.
There is wickedness in the air. It is not natural. Silence. You have no other choice, Frederick, Prince of Wales. No other medicine or magic can help you now. You must accept my help, or all will be lost to you. I can grant young George life, a life that will never end. Is it true? I have heard it said, but never imagined. So strange, so strange. Everlasting life. My son, the king? Very well, very well. Do what you must, Sophia. Save my son this night.
As a young boy, George did not have many playmates. He was a temperamental lad and had trouble keeping his emotions in check. He also had a terrible time holding on to dance partners. His aunt, the Queen of Prussia, took a special interest in his education. George had a finicky appetite, some might say a meat tooth, and when it came to managing George, his father definitely did not know best. I normally pay no attention to my grandchildren, George. To be honest, I hardly even know their names. I've rarely even gotten them birthday presents, come to think of it. But, I've taken an interest in you, lad. I elevated you to Prince of Wales, did I not? You did, Your Highness. And I've allowed you to pursue your frivolous interests in chemistry, and physics, and astronomy, mathematics, French, Latin, history, music, geography, commerce, agriculture, and constitutional law, along with sporting and social accomplishments such as dancing, fencing, and riding, at my own expense, have I not? You have, Your Highness. Do you know how much equestrian tutoring bills are? I have literally spent a king's ransom. And now, it is time for you to repay the gifts I have given you by marrying Duchess Sophie Caroline Marie of Brunswick Wolfenbüttel.
Please, no, Your Highness, I cannot, for my heart is pledged to Lady Sarah Lennox. I've advised you against that match, George, and now you must heed the will of the king. I am born for the happiness or misery of a great nation, and consequently must often act contrary to my passions.
You are my heir, George, and may one day ascend to the throne, but I have other grandchildren. If you will not obey my command, I will expel you from England forever and find someone else to succeed me as king. Sophia? Is that you? Who are you to give orders, puppet king? The world is changing. Your strength is dwindling. Your blood turns poisonous. Your reign is at an end. But I am king. Silence. Do not heed his words, George. No man has authority over you. No mortal can restrict your ambition. Whatever you want is yours. There is a new world waiting to be conquered. Come, my child. Embrace your destiny. Topple the king. Seize the crown. Take your rightful spot on the throne of England.
And so it was that George, at the age of 22, succeeded to the throne when his grandfather, George II, died mysteriously on the 25th of October, 1760, 2 weeks before his 77th birthday, of a strange blood disease called porphyria. Born and educated in this country, I glory in the name of Britain. Across the ocean, the colonists were building a new community in an idyllic new land unspoiled by the sins of man or the carnage of the vampire king. Little did they know that their happy existence would soon be threatened by George's unquenchable thirst for power. When George came to power, England was embroiled in a number of costly foreign wars. Though the wars had gained England new territory, it had also plunged the British government deep into debt, and so George Sophia and the British Parliament enacted a series of measures to increase tax revenue from the colonies and to fund George's plan for world vampire domination. After hearing of the colonists' insubordination, George sent his vampire minions to enforce the new tax measures, and a series of bloody conflicts ensued. Back in England, George was enjoying all the luxuries afforded to the king of a great nation. As a result, both his body and ego had grown in stature. When Sophia returned from her trip to the colonies and told him that the colonists had again defied his authority, the king, who was not accustomed to disappointment, flew into a terrible rage. "This is a proclamation of rebellion, and we must move quickly to end the revolt and bring order to the colonies. Dispatch my vampire minions to the colonies to stamp out this mutiny." The colonists had defied his supreme authority, boycotted his goods, ignored his royal decrees, so King George boarded the seaworthy vessel to plunder the seas of the colonists, to ravage their coasts, to burn their towns and destroy the lives of their people. The colonists believed George had abdicated government in the colonies by violating their fundamental rights, and they believed that they would cease to exist before they would yield to such a tyrant. Neither side would compromise. Only blows could decide whether the colonists would be subject to George or become an independent nation. Darkness fell over the land. The vampire army was victorious. The colonial army was decimated, and George's sinister agents were pursuing the few surviving colonists all over the land. All hope seemed lost. But the war was far from over.